You remember this guy, Krang from Ninja Turtles? The little brain looking dude that had no arms, well, not really any arms, but no legs. It was just a brain sitting in a stomach cavity of a giant biomechanical body, operating the whole thing from inside it with levers and controls. Really weird character, wildly accurate diagram. Because what is Krang? Well, he's a brain from another place that fell from planet X, I believe, and ended up embedded in density, operating a physical machine that he did not build, trying to navigate the world through an avatar. And in the placement, not in the head where you usually find the brain, but in the gut. Now, your gut has its own nervous system, right? We know that. 100 million neurons lining your gastrointestinal tract, communicating directly with your brain through the vagus nerve. Now, science calls that the enteric nervous system, and some call it the second brain, but functionally, it is the first one because it developed in the embryo before the brain in your skull did. So Krang in the gut was not an accident of character design. That image is a lot closer to the actual architecture than most diagrams than you will find in a textbook. So if Krang is operating the machine from the inside, then who is Krang? Well, that's the observer. The awareness that is actually behind the controls, not the body or not even the brain, the thing that is aware that the brain is running. Every contemplative tradition in human history started with this. Neuroscience recently named it metacognition and put it on a pedestal, but the concept is 101. Like it has been in every lesson that of every inner tradition that has ever been. Like this is the most 101 thing. The practice of living from that space, however, that's the real work. But the concept itself is not advanced. Like it's literally the starting point. But the machine Krang is operating has a control room. And at the center of that control room lies the thalamus. Now almost every sensory signal that will ever run through your body passes through the thalamus before it reaches your conscious awareness. Sight, sound, touch, temperature, pressure, all of it, other than smell, is routed through the central relay before the observer ever sees it. Your thalamus is processing roughly 11 bits of sensory information per second. So the observer receives about 40 of those. The control room is making decisions about your reality before you are consciously involved in a single one of them. Now, two of the levers in the control room, the thalamus, I'm using an analogy, but the thalamus that you should be aware of, the ventral anterior nucleus. That sits at the intersection of the motor system and your frontal lobe, and it is the ignition switch. The structure that bridges intention and physical movement. So the gap between I am going to jump in the pool and actually jumping in the pool, that pause between decision and execution, yeah, that has an anatomical address literally. So Krang deciding to move the arm and the arm actually moving, that transition happens right there in the thalamus. The medial dorsal nucleus connects the thalamus to the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that handles judgment, planning, and executive decision. So it is the line between the control room and the part of the machine that thinks about what it is actually doing. Now, when that connection is running clean, the observer can actually think clearly about what they are navigating. When it is dysregulated, the prefrontal cortex goes partially offline and the machine starts running on autopilot like the vast majority of humans. Krang loses control and the avatar just reacts. So everyone in the spiritual conversation says that we forgot who we are. Yeah, sure, that's known, but there's more to that layer because underneath it, what nobody is talking about is that we also forgot how to operate the machine itself. We came into form. The signal got noisy, the filter started running the show, and the observer slowly moved out of the operator's seat into the passenger seat. And then we have spent years trying to find ourselves through the very machine that we forgot we're supposed to be driving. The observer does not automatically have the controls just because it exists. It gets the controls when it knows the machine well enough to operate them consciously. And that is what learning your own thalamic filters actually means. This isn't memorizing anatomy, homie. This is understanding that your system, what your system is letting through and what it is blocking and why. Because what gets through those filters determines everything that you perceive. And what you perceive determines what you act on. And what you act on, well, that is what builds your reality. So Krang in the operator's seat, hand on the controls, understanding the machine, that is this whole thing. That is where we are here in the building era. We build operators over here at Note 13 and Archetype 13. We work with people who want to be in control of their own life in that way. If that is you, Note13.com is where you'll find the anatomy and daily operations in life. Archetype13.com is where you go if you want to explore beyond the ordinary. We are a hands-on participation required, and we have one metric of success. A person involves or improves their everyday real-ass human life. We are not interested in working with those that want to escape or those who feel that they are above this place and above the human being. Sit your ass down. You are not. We work with people who want to better their lives here and now. If that is you, Note13.co, Archetype13.com, because this is the builder era humans and we keep it functional.